Good afternoon. Welcome to 30 Frames a Second. I'm your host, Greg Lassiter, and we have a great show for you today. So don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Okay, so the type of men that I seem to attract,
I always feel like no matter what you think, you're like, you subconsciously bring things into fruition, or you're a magnet for a certain type of person based on your experiences in childhood, your experiences with your parent, your experiences with your father. And I do think that subliminally, I'm not necessarily looking for it, but I attract men that are a lot like my dad, very charismatic, very intense, very showy, very, they can be very romantic, but also very controlling at times in an unhealthy and unfavorable way. And so I've taken some time to look inside myself to see, like, what is it also about me that attracts those people, and what is it that I actually want as opposed to what is it that I'm attracting, and how do I find the go-between.
Why do I think I attract bums?
I don't know, lately it's like mid-30s, I think I attract the son and the father.
I feel like you would think that, like, you know, with going away to college, I've never dated anyone that like went to school with me, like even when I was in law school, when I was an undergrad, just because like I'm a Harlem girl, so I always wanted like the guys from back home. If you weren't from New York, like you were corny, you were this, like I didn't like the way they dressed. So I never really had a problem meeting guys, but I always like I would meet a guy, but it would be like probably like in New York, or like I would end up dating someone that I knew for a really long time that, like, you know, maybe always liked me, but never, you know, like I was dating someone, so like, you know, the opportunity never presented itself or whatever. But, you know, you would think that with, you know, being able to go away, go to college, and like have different like levels of education, that you would be like exposed to like these men who are doing the same, like, you know, you could be like looking for your Barack if you're Michelle, but it didn't work like that for me.
I'm always finding men who need help.
I don't know, I think there's something inside of me that is that energy that I'm giving off to them.
I consider myself to be passionate. In other people's opinion, it might be crazy.
for whatever reason, I'm starting to attract people who only want a physical relationship, and I'm kind of over that. That might sound thottish.
Just recently, 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in my car putting makeup on, and the guy came up, he walked to my car door, and he was like, "Hey, sexy." And I looked, and I said, "Hi." And he had a doobie wrap and $1.50 across his face. You know, the scar from the, yes, oh my God, I almost died. I was just like, this is what I'm attracting? Are you serious? This can't be.
I feel like I attract guys that need, like, that need catering. Like, almost like, not a mama's boy, but oh babe, can you do this? Or babe, can you do that? And I'm just like, yes, 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 because I'm very helpful. I haven't, and I tell my friends this, I haven't met a man, like I hear all these stories like, yeah girl, this guy bought me this, and he got me that, and he gave me this money, and we took a trip. Never.
Men that are romantic and good with words, I've realized that that is my downfall. And I've learned from that. It's like, just because someone says they're going to do something, or they appear to be a certain way, they say they love you, or they say all these sweet things, and then their actions are totally opposite.
You know what? I'm staying away from them good looking brothers.
Welcome back to 30 Frames a Second. I'm your host, Greg Lassiter. We have a special guest today, Danisha Baughan. Danisha you did a documentary on relationships, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting. The name of your documentary is called "It's Not You, It's Them." So tell us about how all this came about.
Okay, so it's not you, it's them. First, to clear up the title, them, naturally people think about them, whoever the opposite sex is.
Right.
But it's not. It's broader than that. It is society, it's anything that affects relationships and dating, so it's everything else but you.
Right.
So not anyone in particular,
Okay.
just to clear that up.
Right.
So it came about because I see a lot of posts on social media, people that I follow, women that I know, women that I don't know. I sit in groups and talk with women, and there are so many complaints about dating and courtship and how it's different from when we grew up or how we saw our parents court one another. And it just became so repetitive, and it became like a real issue that I thought, how can we get this out to the world? When you see someone posting, you only see them,
Right.
and you assume there's something wrong with them or
Right.
their situation.
Right.
But when I thought to myself, if I know all of these women, it can't be them.
Right.
It has to be something else. So
Right. Okay.
why don't I get these women together to tell their story so that the world can see that it's just a multitude of issues that are going on.
Right. And this documentary is primarily all African American women?
Yes.
And some of the issues?
Yes.
Now, what do you find that some of the common issues among African American women in dating?
What I found from a lot of what the women have said is we're just victims of our era.
What does that mean?
It means we're just growing up in the wrong time. It's the time period, it's demographic, it's location. We live in New York City. We're in our early 30s, late 20s, late 30s, and the woman today, in comparison to the man today, we're just in two separate places.
Right. But, you know, living in New York City, the ratio men to women are 9-to-1. So it's just not African American, it's all women together, I guess. But the women that you interviewed, their problem is that they can't find good men, black men. Is it they're only interested in black men, or what is it?
So that's actually one of the topics in my interview. You know, how willing are you to date outside of your race? Some of them are, you know, majority of them are pro-black love, specifically.
Really?
Yes, yes. So, you know, the ones who are willing, they have tried,
Right.
and they haven't been successful. The main thing is these women are looking for commitment.
Right.
And that
When
is
you
what
say
it is.
commitment as in like a lifetime commitment, or a commitment as in dating? Because there's when you say commitment, is this, are we going to get together and we're going to go somewhere with this, or we're just going to date? How is it that when you say commitment, how did they see it?
The main question amongst all of these women is, what are we doing? Where are we going with this? So that type of commitment.
Okay.
Where at least there's some type of progression.
Right.
We're not just dating to date because we want something to do,
Right,
but
right.
we're dating with a goal.
Right.
So you're dating with a purpose.
So what is their expectations?
You know, and from speaking to them, they don't really have like extreme expectations.
Okay, extreme.
It depends on your definition of expectation. But you know, simple things as consistency, that
Right.
came up a lot in the
Right.
documentary.
Right.
Communication
Right.
is major. Women, they want communication. They want to know, you know, that you are thinking of them, that you want to know if they're alive today,
Right,
if they're
right,
well, and
right.
you guys are on the same page. That came up too. Honesty
Right,
came
right,
up a lot.
right,
So
right, of
these are
course.
the type of expectations that I heard.
No, nothing about financial or a good job. Is that
So,
or supporting me? You know where I'm going with this,
yes,
right?
yes.
Okay.
So this is why I wanted to do this
Right.
documentary, because I do have friends with those type
Mm-hmm.
of expectations. Unfortunately, one or two of them that I really wanted to be in it
Mm-hmm.
couldn't. Where they have those expectations of you have to make a certain amount, you have to be
Really?
a certain height, you have to dress a certain way.
I bet you they're lonely, huh?
They are alone. Not lonely, but they are.
They're alone. I mean, they're not lonely, but
Yeah.
alone. But well, my thing is, if you look at, you know, when you talk about, well, I hear this all the time about women, African American women, have these expectations of they want a man to take care of them. What did you ever, in your opinion, is that more the norm than not?
It's not the norm per se. The perspective of taking care of them is not what people really think.
Right.
You do have the women that are like, look, I just want to stay home and chill and be taken care of.
Really? Well, yeah, I guess, okay.
The majority are saying in reference of take the load off of me. I'm tired of being a superwoman. I'm the head of household. I do everything with the children. I'm in charge of the financial piece. I just want someone to be there.
As a partner or somebody to
level out. A
50-50 thing, because I've been hearing that most of the African American women, the stereotype, they want you got to have this amount of money, you got to drive this kind of car, and those kind of women are pretty much by themselves.
Yeah.
Like one of the women that you interviewed, this guy came up to him. He had a do-rag on, and he had I didn't even know what a $1.50 was until they told me. Yeah, like the scar.
Yeah.
But she was offended. I don't understand that. If a guy's nice, and just, he got a scar from prison maybe, or somebody just got in an accident. But she's like, I would never date him.
We learn as we date more the red flags to look out for, and that could have just been her red flag for a certain type of dude that you probably want to stay away from, depending on his background, what he's been involved in.
But let me ask you this though: why, isn't it hard enough? I feel it's hard enough trying to find someone.
It is.
To just bond with you. Yeah. But when you say there's nothing wrong with staying where you are in the race, but when you have those limitations, doesn't that cut you off from the rest of the world?
It does. It does. It really does. It decreases your options.
Right.
It does.
Right.
But you want what you want. And if you don't go after what you want, then what are you doing? You're settling.
Okay, but what happens if your criteria is limited to, okay, I want a black man, 6'2", that has this kind of job. It's not necessary he wants to take care of me, but I'm looking for a specific kind of person. Then you're chasing it. Don't you feel that they're chasing it? They're never going to get that. Some do, some won't.
Some are very lucky to get exactly what they're looking for.
How many women did you interview?
19.
19. And interviewing 19 women, in your opinion, what did you get out of it?
What I got out of it is that we got a lot of work to do today as a society, not just men or women, but as a whole, we have a lot of work to do. There's so many things just causing that boundary between us moving forward with quote unquote black love.
Right.
That's what I got out of it. For us, unfortunately, one of the major factors is social media.
Right.
Is really damaging the relationships and the partnerships, and it's so much of social media that's causing people to either stay single or to cheat or to, look for love in the wrong places or look at the wrong type of love. So what I got out of it is that we just have a lot of work to do.
So when you say, social media, what do you mean by social media is ruining relationship? What does that mean?
Just
in your opinion?
Our access to social media and then our focus, the way we're so focused on all things social media, as you would hear when the documentary comes out, a lot of women speak about, how people portray a certain image relationship-wise on social media, which then pushes you to want to kind of, level toward that. And then you spend your whole life and every day of your life trying to achieve those goals, which may not be your own, and then you find yourself back at square one. So, and then the men, they have access to certain women through social media. They have an idea of what type of women that they want, which then draws them away from, which could be the good girl that they need.
Right.
And it's just all based around social media. Almost every woman in the documentary brought up the topic of how social media is just really detrimental to relationships.
Yeah, but how do these women find the men that how did they, when you ask them, how did they find what they were looking for? What was that?
Most times they're finding them through circles of friends, so networking through their friends, family members, at work. A lot of them in a social settings that they shouldn't be finding them in, like the club. I always tell them to stray away from that.
Right, right.
Don't look for anyone in the club, please. Don't do it.
When did you find the club? Leaving the club, right?
Yeah, I think so. And then also social media.
Right.
So we
right.
call it sliding in the DMs.
Right.
So
Really?
someone sliding in your DM, and that's how you guys get together.
Right.
And then it turned out to be the wrong person for you.
Now, tell me about the women that you interviewed. Did they have kids?
Yes.
Most of them, all of them had kids?
About half of them have kids, and the other half don't.
Okay.
So that was another one of our topics. You know, how difficult is it to date while raising a child, being a single parent? And they spoke about that. You know, some of them are totally against introducing anyone to their children. So again, that creates a limitation. And then others are kind of like, you know, well, I try it out, and if my kid doesn't like them, then I don't like them.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So, you know.
Really? So, like, what was the major topic that you talked to them of finding a mate? What like I guess you put them in groups. How did that happen? Like when you interviewed them, and did you guys break out in groups and talk about it?
No, so it was individual interviews, one by one. They were scheduled to come in at separate times. All of them answered the same questions in the order that they wanted to answer the questions.
Okay, so all of them, like looking. Okay, when you say looking, I don't. What was the purpose of this? And to me, tell me what was the purpose of making it's not you, it's them.
So the purpose is because again, there's no real advocacy for why so many women are single. There's always a women are crazy. It's always that thing. There's think like a man. There's he's just not that into you. You know, there are those platforms that always lean toward men and why women should focus on doing better for the man. Nothing addresses what is the issue? Like, what is the real issue? Don't tell us what we have to do different and how we have to change, but let's all talk about how we can all change this together.
Oh, that's good.
That
that's
doesn't
good.
exist. So this is why I created the documentary.
This is going to be an awesome documentary. When's it supposed to come out?
So it's completed now. Still a little editing going on. We're aiming for May.
Oh, okay.
For the first screening.
So, you know, how did you go about choosing these women? These people that you know, or how did that come about?
So some of them I know. Again, me looking at social media, I've seen them post, and I'm just like, wow, she's going through a hard time. Right. I wanted to speak to them personally. Some of them I sit with, we go out, we have these conversations, so I chose them that way. And then there were friends of friends. Some of them that I knew, they were like, well, I have a friend, she has the same experience, and brought her in. Some of them I don't know at all, and they heard about it and wanted to join in.
Now, did any of them want to be married?
So I think about every female, except for one or two in the documentary, has a goal of being married.
Really?
Yes.
And like, okay, did you talk about the social issues of being married? Did you know about, the black marriages are on the decline and things like that?
Yeah.
And how did you tell them about that? And
So
what did you guys feel about that?
One clip in the documentary shows the percentage of black women that have never been married. So we talked about that. And one of the questions I asked the ladies in reference to that is that if your life does not change in terms of getting married and, it is what it is now, are you willing to accept that for the rest of your life?
And what was
Which
the
is a
answer?
tough question to ask.
Right.
Of course, the majority were like, no. Like, I want to be married. I want that black love.
But do they ever look back and say, oh, maybe I have to change some things about myself?
Yes.
To get out there. And what was the response on that?
Yeah, so I made sure to have those provoking questions that made you do some self-reflection.
Right.
And
That's
a
awesome.
lot of them were really honest about what their flaws are.
Well, majority of them want black love, right?
Yeah.
But, okay, again, I go back to having black love. And your documentary is like, it was all about African-American women, but they weren't willing to go outside the race to date. Well, majority of them weren't.
Yeah, majority are
They
not.
just.
They really believe in black love. They want to make, we have the saying, which is a part of the documentary, like, let's make black love great again. Like, we want that. We want to see that.
Well, okay, in your documentary, did it discuss about what happened to black love? When black love wasn't great? When black love was great?
We did.
And what happened?
Yeah, we have a topic about, looking at our parents growing up or our grandparents and, just seeing maybe the mother and the father in the home, whether they were married or not, but just having that stable foundation and seeing the type of courtship that happened back in the days. And what all of the women agree happened is social media,
Really?
for one, is what happened. The accessibility of, like they mentioned, you don't even have to take a woman out on a date. You could just text her every day, and now you're dating.
Really?
That was what was mentioned.
I must be old because I'm old school. So,
Yeah.
but you keep saying that these women are blaming social media, but that's just another avenue to find a mate, right?
It's another avenue, but it also makes it where you don't have to put in so much effort.
Right. But you got to meet though. At some point, you do have to meet.
You would think so, right?
Right. I don't think you can date
You would-
without meeting, right?
But this is the struggle of our generation. There is an assumption that you can date this person
Without
meeting them anytime soon. Not without meeting them ever, but you can go a month, you can go 6 weeks and just be texting and instant messaging and emailing, and then
Never-
maybe eventually he'll take you on a date. Eventually.
But okay, wait.
And this is what we're experiencing.
and that's what you think that's what. But then you got to stop it. They have to stop that. They say if you want to meet, if we're going to hook up,
Right.
you have to we got to not wait a month
Right.
to meet. We got to go back to the old school.
Right.
Now. But they still fall for that though, right? Women are still going. That goes to change, right?
That's the thing. You still have a little bit of hope.
Right.
That maybe if I hold on, maybe he's busy. Maybe he can't meet right now. Maybe he can't take me on a date, and hold on for that hope.
They accept that. So it's more. I'm being it from a man's standpoint. Now, if a woman is dating on social media, at some point, you want to say, "Hey, look, okay, are we dating? Are we dating? Okay, now if we're dating, we need to meet."
Right.
And then once we meet, we may not even like each other. So why would you be? See, that doesn't make
Right.
sense because you're thinking that we're going to do this for a month and we haven't met.
Right.
Wow. What? Like, that blows my mind. But what is the age group of the women that you interviewed?
So it's from 25 to about 38 is the age range of women.
You know what you should do next? You should do the men's side of it.
So I've been told this
Yeah.
several times, especially by my male friends.
Right,
They're
right.
just like, when do we get to try? And I'm just like, well, I think I have a creative way to involve them in like a sequel or a spin-off.
Do you find it depressing?
It's extremely depressing. It is, and for both the men and the women, it's depressing.
And being that the way it is, but people aren't wanting to. You see, you got to make so it has to start somewhere.
Yep.
Change. And do you find that they want to change? Or they just like, oh, I just hope and pray?
So when it comes to the women, I find that they really want to change, but with all of the bad experiences, it's so much of a brick wall to that change for the women.
But how did they expect to meet then? How when you interviewed them, what did they say? How is it that black women want, if they don't want to change the way they are, because in order to get ahead, you got to change your habits.
Yeah.
So, but if they don't want to change, how do they expect to meet
Well,
men?
I think they do want to change.
We change.
Yeah.
Right?
They do want to change. But then too, when you don't feel like you have much to change, you kind of move away from, which is the reality of a lot of situations.
Right.
You move away from focusing on what you should change to focusing on what the other person should change.
Do you think most of them, when they try to change the man that they get?
And that is one of the major complications. A lot of women are waiting for the man to change or trying to change him herself. That is what's happening a lot.
And that's why it's an epic fail, because they should change themselves.
Right.
If you change yourself, change your thinking.
Your type, your surroundings.
Yeah, right. Change your environment.
Yep.
Change the world. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
And that's kind of like I think it's kind of like crazy almost thinking. Like you think that if I'm not gonna change, I'm gonna change him to fit what I want him to fit. And it never works.
Yeah, it's a little unrealistic.
Yeah,
It is, for
I
sure.
mean, you're looking at what I don't even know what the rate of, there's more black women, and the New York area that are single.
It is, yeah.
Wow.
There is.
But
it's a very high percentage. I don't know the exact number either, but it's a very, like I always tell people, if I have like white, Asian, black friends, if I have 10 white friends, 9 of them are married.
Right.
If I have 10 black friends, 9 of them are single.
Right,
like,
right,
you know,
right,
I see that kind of
But
difference.
is it that when they say change your environment, maybe they need to go change their, like, instead of having black friends, have some white friends, have some Asian friends.
Yep.
You know,
For
because
sure.
that opens up the door
It does.
to change.
It
The women, were they, did they want to do that?
It did. One of the women, she actually spoke about how she went to law school. She's a lawyer now.
I think I saw that on there.
Yeah. You know, she has all of that exposure to
Right.
different environments, but somehow she still attracts the guys from where we grew up.
Does she still live there?
No, she doesn't live there. She doesn't hang out there, but she's like, no matter where she is, she's somehow drawn to those type of guys still.
But that's because what you put out is what you get back, though. You
It
think
could
about
be
it?
that. It could be that.
Because if you change your environment, you're not going to, if you don't hang out there, you're surely not going to attract those type of people.
Right.
So I feel that, she's still attracting those kind of guys. That means, you still, then it's what you put out there. It's how you carry yourself, right?
Or that, or something within you is not helping you see like whatever attraction in other type of guys.
Right.
And you only see it in the guys that you're used to.
Okay. What was your feeling about when you did this? What did you come back? What did you come out of this with?
It was really eye-opening because a lot of the stuff that was mentioned I already knew. But
Did you
then
agree with it?
I did. Much of it I agreed with. I'm like, yeah, this is, the communication, the consistent. These are
Right.
things I always talk
Right,
about.
right.
I also do like an event called Chat and Chew where I get people
Right,
together and we
right.
discuss these same
Okay,
things.
right.
So, but at the very end of it, all 19 interviews, and then even as I went back and watched them during editing, I'm like, wow, like it really hit me heavy.
Right,
like this
right.
is a serious problem.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, but let me ask you, these women, did you guys did they talk about abuse and things like that? Did that ever come up?
I think 1 or 2 women did speak about both emotional and physical abuse.
Right, right.
But not for the most part. It didn't come up.
So, in your interviews, what did you come out after interviewing these women? What did you see? Was it realistic to you of what they wanted?
It was very realistic. I don't recall a woman in any of the interviews that I felt like, well, it maybe one, but I feel like you just got to kind of understand her.
Right.
But I didn't really feel like, the ladies, you just have to fix it. Let's sit down, let's have a powwow. There are a lot of things that you all need to fix.
That's what you said.
I didn't feel that way.
Oh,
No, I didn't. I did not.
But did you think you should? Did you think you should do that and say maybe like get them in groups and go, hey, look, maybe you should change yourself.
I think that it would be beneficial to reflect, but not necessarily. Most times we know what we
Right,
have to change.
right.
Do we admit it out
Right,
loud?
right,
No,
no.
we don't.
Right.
But you already know, so you kind of don't like. I'm also a counselor, so I'm very sensitive with that. I let people bring out,
Right.
from within themselves what they believe they need to change.
Right.
And I let them do it in their own time.
Right.
Because
You
if-
can't tell them what to do.
Yeah,
The
you
counselor-
can't.
you just gotta like try to
never do
walk
that.
them down
yeah,
that road, right?
Like I give them things to look at and maybe consider,
Right.
but never to say, well, if you keep thinking that way, you're never gonna get a man.
Right,
That
right,
would
right,
never
right,
come out.
right,
So
right,
I kind of
right.
like draw them in that direction
Right.
and allow them to kind of think about it on their own.
But what was some of their backgrounds? Is it from like middle class, lower
So
middle class?
this is exactly why I got these women together,
Mm-hmm.
because one of the things that I noticed as a pattern
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of the women are like successful, independent women.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, those are the women that are single. A lot of these women, all of them actually are educated,
Okay.
independent, certain level of success, middle class women, and it was always just like myself. It's just always like, why? Like, why do we get to be single and we've made it this far in life? So this is the background of these women.
Could it be expectations?
I think it's a combination of expectation and also intimidation.
And wait, intimidation, that brothers are intimidated by them? Really? You think so?
Yep. That's something else
Really?
that came up a lot within the documentary.
Now, when you say, do you say they don't meet the guys on their status, or they run into guys on their status and feel intimidated?
It's both. So,
Really?
yeah. So there's been times that women that I know, and like I said, I always use personal experience also, have met guys on their level, and those guys still felt like it was either a competition or I can't really control her because she has too much together. So let me get to, someone else that I can have more power over and feel like more of a man with at my level.
But see, a professional black man, I would say, if a professional black man is successful, if that's the type of man that they're after, I don't know too many successful black men that would be intimidated if we're on par. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Normally that's what you would think and we would hope.
Right.
And I know a lot of successful black men that do want successful black women or with successful black women. But then I also know a lot who are not with successful black women and don't want anything to do with the successful black women.
The ones that you do know that don't want anything to do with successful black women, black men, why? Why, in your opinion? What did they say?
It's from what I hear them say, and they don't say it specifically, but I could hear it in the tone and, read between the lines. It's that control factor. Like, no, she's too sassy. She always wants to know where I am, what I'm doing. The woman's mouth is, open
Right.
Yeah.
So when you interviewed these women, did you talk about, okay, what about the brothers that date white women?
No, we didn't talk about that, but it did come up. It wasn't a topic, but it came up that, yes, some of our brothers who do make it to a certain place in life, and they refer to a celebrity in one of the interviews, they forget about us.
Well, really? You think that's you? Do you think that's the problem?
That's the perception.
That's the perception.
Yes, that's the perception.
But do you believe that?
I believe it has a lot to do with why so many of us are single.
Right.
It does happen,
Right.
especially like the brothers that I know who are in corporate America, and they're like one of 3 black men in the office.
Right.
They end up.
Well, because it's environment.
Yeah.
It's environment, right?
Yeah.
Because you can only choose from the pool of the environment that you hang
you're
out with.
in.
And see, I feel that. Do you feel that sometimes black women get pissed off like that, get mad because?
Oh yeah.
But
they
then blame
do.
it. Why? But why?
Which again goes back to the title of my documentary.
It's
It's
not-
not you, it's them. Because now we need to blame it on society.
But you can't blame it. But how do you blame it on society when you know it's you? It really is you. Don't you think?
For being upset about it, you could be upset.
Yeah, but you could be upset, but if it's environmental. If you hang out in an all-black place,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that's the pool you have. But if you
Yeah.
hang out in an all-white place, this kind of
is true.
environment, right?
It is.
So
It is
why do you think they
environment.
get mad? Why do you think? Why do?
Well, when it comes to that, like I speak to close family and friends about this, and I say the same thing. I'm like, we, and I always include myself. I'm like, we have to change our environment, and I said
Right,
it. I said,
right.
otherwise you can't complain.
Right. That's
If you're
exactly
not
right.
changing your surroundings,
Danisha, that
you
is
can't
exactly
really
right.
complain.
And that you try to tell these women and men, that if you don't change your environment and change your thought, you're going to continue down the same
Right.
road, right?
Right.
And when you said that, what did the women say? When
They agree.
Yeah.
Most times they agree. But then, they also tell the truth. And they're just like, I don't believe that they use themselves as an example.
Really?
If we could come from such an environment and background and kind of change and mold who we are, then we should be able to find someone like that. Kind of like your alike or some women want that.
Yeah.
They want the guy who grew up in the hood like them, but has evolved into this professional with a little bit of hood still in him. They want that. And it's like,
I guess. Okay. Really?
Yeah.
I don't. What was the thought behind that? You mean because
I think it's familiarity. Like they want someone who, and someone mentioned that in the interview. They were like, I want someone who understands where I come from, and which is why they don't want to date outside of their race. They said, I don't want to have to explain to him why I feel the way I do about certain racial aspects.
But wouldn't it
in
be
reference to race?
But wouldn't it be like, even if you did, you'd be understanding another culture though, right?
Yeah, you would be understanding, but the women's point is they don't want to have to teach that. They want you to come equipped with
So what
knowing
happens
that.
to a black man who, you know, like very seldom you're gonna find on par.
That's
so
true.
somebody's gonna
That's
be
true.
it's gonna be the woman or the
That's
man.
true.
So what happens if the man says, "Well, I don't want to have to teach her"? Did women ever think about that?
And it does happen,
Right,
which is why sometimes
Right.
we get overlooked because
Right.
he doesn't want to have to deal with that.
But so it kind of works both ways, though,
It
right?
does.
Yeah.
It does. And I think a lot of times we all are, because I have male friends who are like, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want that. And then I have the females who are saying the same thing. And I'm like, okay, you guys are both saying the same thing, but no one's together. Like, why is this happening?
Right, right.
So,
Why is that happening?
you know, the ones that I know, I've even had guys that I've dated, and they're kind of like, oh my goodness, it's no women out here with ambition. And I'm just like, really?
Hello?
You're sitting here telling this to me? I don't understand what's happening here. And I'm like, I think to myself, I'm like, maybe they're just not paying attention at all or really getting to know the person because you're so focused on the social media or texting and, you know, video chatting, and you're not sitting down to get to know this person and realize that they are something that you're looking
Right,
for.
the ambition, like when they say, guys like, I want a woman that's ambitious, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know what that means. What does that mean?
I'm still trying to figure it out because I spoke to a guy and he's like, you know, we're all the dope women. And I'm like, what? You know, I said the same thing. I'm like, I know what you mean by dope women. And I'm like, but I know a lot. And I'm like, what are you, like,
Okay, but what does that mean? Where are the dope women? What does that exactly mean?
They are referring to being educated, you know, making your own money. Because like you said, a lot of times the perception is women just want a man to take care of them. So that woman who's still grinding on her own, doesn't really need him, but would like to have him around. Referring to that, doing something with her life besides partying and you know, drinking and turning up and everything. So they're looking for that, having a career, having an education, taking care of her children if she has them, or goals to settle down. That's what they're referring to as like the ambition or the quote unquote dope. Those women exist. I just don't understand why men are overlooking them. This is what
you think men really want that? The men who say that?
And this is what we said also in the documentary and in our group chats. We're just like, do they really know what they want? Like, do you know? Like, you're saying this and you have access to it, but you're not with that person. So do you know? And you know, other factors contribute to, like, again, using myself. I have 2 children, so. And I'm not with the dad. So when I do meet someone that's quality or, you know, interested, that's sometimes one of their things. You're dope, you're everything, but you got 2 kids.
Yes, that's what I was going to, that was my next question. Like, has it been a problem for the men that they meet? They say, well, you know what? Men will say, oh, wait, I don't want to date you and you got a couple kids, but he also has a couple kids.
Yeah. That I have heard about and I have been in contact with also. It's weird. I don't understand it. It's just like, you forgot you have 2 kids too. So like,
why? You know, I don't understand. Men would say, yo, I don't want to date women with kids, but you got kids.
Yeah.
Did the women find out? The women that you interviewed, were they meeting guys like that?
They didn't mention meeting any like that. The women with kids did say that they've met guys who were not so open to, you know, because it's always that thought of the father, the other parent, exactly, being in the picture and having to deal with that. But they didn't say whether or not that guy had children and had like this stipulation too. Like I do know of some who are like that. I know of some who don't have children and they refuse, no matter how dope the woman is. Refuse.
Why is that? Why is that?
One of my close friends is like that, and he's like, you know, I just prefer to start fresh with the person.
And he kind of limits himself too.
And I told him that, and he doesn't believe it. He said no, he's not limiting himself.
But is he limited? Was he saying he's going to date outside his race, or he's going to stay? He wants black love.
He didn't specify whether, you know, he would. I think he would date outside of his race. I believe so, because I've seen him interested in other races. But he's very headstrong on no kids. Like, I can't do the. He said it. I can't be a stepdad. Like,
Right. I mean, because I guess it's different. Do you feel it's different for a woman with kids than a man, because the woman lives with the kids and they got to deal with the drama,
so
if there's any drama?
I wrote an article recently that was published about that, and I said it's very different for a mother to date than it is for a father to date. And I put in points how different it is and how difficult it is, especially for us. Yes, there are some single fathers who are doing as much as we do, but it's not as many as the women.
Right.
So it's really different, and it's a major factor when it comes to dating.
Right. My thing is too, I don't, black love, I mean, love is love to me. I understand the black love thing, but when you go back to that, limiting, and you got kids, and do they ever think about, the women that you interview, did they ever think about just finding someone that they can connect with?
Yes, a lot of them mention that. Like, that's major for them, the connection.
But it has to be black.
Black is a preference, for
right.
sure. I did remember one of the ladies mentioning if someone came along and that connection did exist, and they just so happened to not be black, and they just had no success in the black department, then yes, they'd be more than open to having that relationship. But their vision is tunneled to black right
really?
now.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying it kind of limits your options.
It does.
And looking back, and if you look back and how, like, you're young, I'm younger, you're young, a lot younger than me, but we always want what our parents had, and that could be good and that can be bad. As where I came from at my age, my parents were together. But you see, as a younger Generation X, I mean, whatever, X gens or whatever, there's a single parent household.
It is, and we talked about that. Like, we watched parents in the household, even if it was like a step parent, like the way I grew up, you still had that male and that female in the household working together to raise those children together. It was a lot more of that before with us growing up. Now, and in our time, it's the woman is by herself, she's holding down everything, and maybe the kids go with their dad sometime, and it's a lot more of that now, and it's a heavy burden on women, and it's one of the reasons, we look for a certain level of commitment. We don't have time to really, just parlay and date and let's just free for all. It's like we have a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, but at the same time, you would want, it kind of limits, it still limits, the things. So tell me a little bit about your profession and background.
So I'm a school counselor.
High school?
High school,
okay.
Yeah. I've been a school counselor for about 8 years. I've done elementary, middle, and high school levels. I have masters in school counseling, also masters in mental health counseling.
Wow.
So I love counseling. And then I just finished school building leadership to be assistant principal. So I'm heavy in the education field, specifically in counseling. Mostly just students. I've just recently open myself up to the adults when I do like the chat and chew and talking to the women and the men, and it's mostly in a relationship department. I am really interested in marriage and family therapy for this reason also. I know sometimes people are like, if the person's not married, I don't want you to give me guidance.
Right. Yeah, but you still can. You still have something
it comes
to offer,
from a lot of experience. So that's my background. I work for the Department of Education now. And I've always worked New Jersey Department of Education, also Virginia Department of Education.
So being a counselor, your issues when you're talking to kids, primarily black kids?
Yes.
And what has been, like growing up in a household, what have you seen that comes out of the household? Because what you're counseling is what's going to be our future. How do you feel, how's that work? How do you feel that's going or progressing or not progressing?
I feel like it's not progressing much. It's actually getting a lot worse than it has been. Speaking to the students, the issues that they face primarily come out of the household.
And what are some of the issues?
Again, going back to that single parent household, that's one of the factors that are affecting our students. Mothers are working a lot, mothers are not home, they're not active in the school setting, which then affects the students' academic and behavioral progression. Household conflicts, sometimes neither parent is raising a child. There's a grandparent, grandparent or an aunt, uncle. Some of our students are independent and on their own, so we have a lot of homelessness. In our district, there's a high homeless rate for our high school students, yes.
So how, that kind of puts is it like majority of African American kids?
Yep.
Wow. Wow. What do you tell a kid? How do you get through to a kid that way?
It's difficult. You tell them as much as possible. I'm fortunate that usually, I mean, I wasn't homeless, but I am where from these kids are from, which is why I love being able to work in my district that I grew up in. And it's like I'm giving back. And I'm always able to speak to them from experience. They didn't, you know, grab some counselor out of the suburb who has no idea what they're going through. And, you know, I speak to them about how they could rise above it. I use always self-disclosure, and I'm like, you know, I teach them resilience. You are not a product of your environment. I always teach them that. And we just find ways of, you know, support that they can receive or any resources that they can receive just to keep them going.
Tell me about your opinion about male versus female black education.
So, of course, the females are just like taking over when it comes to education. We see, I mean, you see it out in the media. I don't know how much of it is accurate, but even in the workplace, like I see we have a lot more female staff in the education field than we have male staff. I would love if I could see more male school counselors. Like the boys need the male school counselors.
Black male.
Black male. They need black male teachers. Like I would love if I saw that more also.
And your school doesn't have a lot of black male teachers?
No. As a matter of fact, I don't think we have one at all.
It's a black neighborhood?
It's a black neighborhood, Harlem, District 5.
Really?
Yeah, we have white teachers, we have Hispanic teachers.
But no black? It's kind of sad.
It is. It is.
Where'd you go to school?
So I went to school also in District 5, Choir Academy. It doesn't exist anymore. I went to Choir Academy of Harlem. I always credit my school as being a part of how I got to where I am in life. It really molded us at the time when schools positively impacted, you know, children. That's what my school did for me. And that's kind of like what I try to reenact with the students today. The school, if home can't help them, then I would like for school to be the place that can help them,
safe.
like it did for us. Yeah.
So where'd you go to college?
For undergrad, I went to Winston-Salem State University.
Wow.
HBCU.
North Carolina, HBCU.
Yeah. I loved it.
Right.
After I left Winston-Salem State, I came back up north to New York, and that's when I went to Hunter College and did the mental health credits.
It's a great college for mental health,
Yeah, it is. Hunter was tough. It was good. And then I went back to the South to get my school counseling master's at Norfolk State University. Another HBCU.
Right, HBCU.
Yeah.
What are the choices that the black women have now when it comes to, like, what if they don't find, you know, that mate? What are the choices? What are you hearing? Or you as a black woman, what are the choices? What is your choice now? If you, like, there's a limit of black men. Some like say where they're gay, black men are gay, some are gay, in jail, unemployed, that kind of thing. What are the choices that black women have? If they don't want to date outside their race, what are the choices?
We always say that the choices we have they're so few and like far between. So what we have is to focus on ourselves, dive into our career, raise our family, and just wish for the best, because our choices are very, very slim.
Well, I always thought that you would want to just focus on yourself anyway.
Always. Yeah,
and just if you find it, instead of looking for it. Yeah, it comes, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like you mentioned, we're up against a lot. We do have a lot of brothers we find out are going to the same side of the fence, or you know, or they're dating outside of the black race, or they just haven't grown up yet. Even in their mid-30s, it's still a level of teenage. I just want to, I just want to be young and have fun still. So it just lessens our options, and you just have to wait and be hopeful.
And you know what? You know, black men, you know, statistically, we have a high rate of unemployment. You know, it's a high rate of unemployment. You know, I've seen statistics where it was like, and I don't know how these guys got the statistics, because they said it was 18.4% of black men in America are unemployed.
Wow.
But I think it's higher than that, because those are numbers that they got from unemployment. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, it's hard out here for a black man, and you know, when it comes to, like, you know, finding a black woman, and you're like, okay, I'm trying to make it like you. And why does it always feel that there's a confrontation, a pull, when it comes to, you know, the male versus the female, black female? There's always some kind of pull. Why is that?
One of the women in the documentary spoke about that. Like, the way she said it was so hilarious. She said, you know, this guy comes to you and he's still trying to get himself together. And here you are with this banging career, your education, your own place, your own car. And he's kind of like, dang, you got your stuff together. No, thank you. You know?
Really?
So it's just like.
But she wouldn't look at him anyway, would she?
You know.
How many of them would?
Not a lot.
But you know, but you see what I'm saying? How you know, you want something, but you're not willing to give something.
Right.
You know?
Right. You know, it's a mindset of the struggle to get where you are. It's like, you know, I really worked hard to get where I am. So now you're telling me I have to turn around and help another grown person get to where I am, and it makes people kind of hesitant to want to do that.
What is your target audience for your documentary?
My target audience is specifically the 80s and 90s babies, both professional, successful, middle class. Priority is middle class. Black, of course. That's a major. They definitely have to be the African American background. That's my target.
Male or female? that's what.
I really want both.
Really?
To see. Of course, it's a major message to the males, of course. But I want both to be able to see, because I definitely want the females to hear what the ladies have to say and feel like, you know, I'm not alone in this. But also, maybe some of what she's saying I need to consider and do some self-reflection. And then I also want the males to see, like, we have a message for you guys, and this is, you know, let's work together to all fix this.
Where do you see a film going?
I really wanted it to just be something that helps people in my target population. But if I could see it like on Netflix, that would be like a dream come true, because then, you know, I have friends in North Carolina who they might not be here for a screening, but if they could see it on a larger scale, they too would feel like, oh wow, I'm going through the same thing, even though I don't live in New York City. You know, women and men all over could benefit from it.
Is there going to be a part 2?
There, you know, because of the feedback from what people have saw so far, whether it's people close to me or little clips that I showed, the men, I'm going to give them their opportunity.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Now, did you ever think about, after you do part 2, then bring them both together?
That's a good one. I didn't get that far. But that's a good one.
So let me ask you, and the economics of the women that you interviewed, were they lower class, middle class, upper middle class?
Middle.
They were all middle. You didn't interview anybody lower middle class?
Not, well, yeah, kind of, sort of. They maybe as far as career-wise, but all of them had some type of education that could get them to the middle class level.
How many of the women, after doing an interview, have a relationship now? Do you know?
So there was like one, I believe, who had like a progressing relationship during the documentary interviews, and now is just thriving, which I'm so proud of her. I always look and I'm smiling, like my heart is smiling. I love it. And she didn't have to like go outside the box or outside of her background or where she grew up, so it showed that it's possible. But the rest are still single or dating or trying to get their mate to be where they want him to be.
Did you find them to be angry at all?
So that's what I like about the women in this documentary. Of course, like, I spoke to them ahead of time. I said, this is not a male bashing thing. I wanted to make that clear. None of them are angry, and they don't sound bitter. They don't sound angry. They sound like they're just really speaking from experience, and that like they're really just trying to get a message out.
Frustrated, maybe?
A little bit of frustration. You could,
but no anger.
But the frustration has some humor to it, which makes it a little better. No anger.
Wow. I can't wait till this comes out. I know, how long is the documentary?
An hour and a half.
How'd you shoot it? It was on HD. How was it shot?
Yes, HD camera. We had a camera guy. just one scene. Everybody's doing, you know, like a typical documentary scene, sitting and talking. Of course, there's going to be little B-roll inputs so that you could stay entertained.
What about film festivals?
So I definitely want to enter it into the film festival.
You know your father. All of us here are affiliated with the People's Film Festival.
Yes, yes.
And
that's
you might
my
need
goal.
to talk to the executive director, who's one of our producers, Veronica. She's back there. And that film festival is in May.
Yes.
Starts at the end of May.
Yes, so that's my goal. Definitely film festival. I know film festival is like a major deal,
Right.
so I would love that.
So let me let you. We got about 3 minutes left. So what could you tell the black men and black women after you have done this?
So after the documentary, I really want to open the eyes of the black men and the black women. The black men, like one of the women said in the documentary, we just want them to get back to a place of being like our protectors, being our shoulder to lean on, you know, being our person our hero, that someone we can run to, take our father's place, not take his place, but you know, let our fathers sleep secure that someone is taking care of their daughters, and you know, just bring that back to where black women are protected.
Right.
For
That's
the women, I just really want them to always do self-reflection.
Right.
Always focus on yourself. Always focus on building yourself up. Focus on making it to where it's comfortable to be in that black love relationship. We have a lot of anger and frustration in us from so many different things. So many different things, and just get into a place of peace again.
Right. So tell me about, somehow Harlem Haberdashery was involved in this?
No? Not in the documentary.
Okay.
So what they were involved in was, like I said, I have what I call a chat and chew, where I bring male and females together. It's called Battle of the Sexes.
Really?
And we talk about these same topics like in the documentary, but you get to be face to face with the opposite sex of what's happening. Any topic we bring up, what's your perspective from a male and what's your perspective from a woman? And let's talk about it. Let's debate it. We did that in Harlem Haberdashery.
Really?
Which is my friend's establishment with his family, and he let us use the space, and he's always involved in my chat and choose. He's always a member.
Now, that's one of the first haberdasheries in Harlem, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Wow. So after this, where is Harlem Haberdashery located anyway?
So it's between 122nd and 123rd and Lenox Avenue. Inside of a brownstone, it's the garden level of the brownstone.
I think Nat Wood, one of the creator of the show, he has family that's affiliated with Harlem Haberdashery.
Yes. One of the owners, Guy Wood.
So I can't wait to see your movie. It's going to be, I think, very interesting. I would be interested, after the movie, I want you to come back so we can see what kind of feedback that you would get.
Yes, I'm ready.
Danisha, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. And guys, listen, one other thing. At some point after this film, are you going to have a panel discussion?
Yes, actually someone had already asked me about that. She thought the film was done, and she asked about having a panel discussion at Mist in Harlem. So that's going to be a for sure activity that'll happen. I think a lot of events will come out of this documentary.
Oh, I think so too.
So people are going to want to have
You might win a lot of awards. And do some good, right?
Yes.
Guys, we only got about a minute. Guys, I want to thank everybody for watching 30 Frames a Second. You got to come see in May. It's coming out in May. It's not you, it's them.
It's hard. Back in the day, people used to say, the ball's in your court, girl. The ball ain't in our court no more. The men got the ball.